I attended some training recently, and I'm not going to say with whom or where. I don't want to put people on blast. Kind of like a mishmash of actual local militia guys mixed with just like some local mag type people wanting to come out. Tactical training. I see a lot of these groups doing some good stuff. You'll see them do homestead training and just like logistics stuff. You'll see them go into towns and dress like this, just doing area studies. That's some good shit. But this was like a tactical kind of weekend. Bring some new people in and stuff. They focused on the basics, the fundamentals, which I think everybody needs to do. 99% of people need to get back to fundamentals and just do the shit out of those. Which it looks like a reserve weekend. That's what these training events look like. Reserve National Guard weekends. They spent the first 2 hours jaw-jacking, talking about politics, and I heard some football talk. And then they did some PT. So, there's a lot of problems with this. It was a horrible PT program. It was some old Army guy running it that just likes formations and all this shit. And I'm like, all right, PT's good. You want guys to be fit and everything, but it's like, when I ran training for my reserve unit, I would always have some dipshit officer saying, or some sergeant major, like, you guys need to do PT. And I would push back and say, this is like once a month training. We can't get these guys fit in one morning of 1 month. That ain't gonna fucking happen. And of course, I'd usually get shot down, so I'd just take them on a ruck march and break everybody off. Because you can't just go from 0 rucking to a 12-mile forced ruck and be okay. And I would do that to prove a point. You're all fat and weak, and I can't get you in shape in 2 hours in the morning. Like a lot of these units, they bash the bureaucracy of the military and stuff for good reason. There's a lot of bullshit you don't want to copy. And then they'll copy the military's extremely inefficient physical training program. That's another story, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, somebody drove like 13 hours to get to this training, stayed at a hotel halfway and drove the rest of the way in the morning. People are leaving their families and jobs. They're sacrificing money and a weekend and everything to come out here to do training. And you're doing 2 hours of PT. So number one, if you're doing training like that, especially if it's tactical training, your physical fitness training should come from the training, right? So I say this all the time. You go ruck and you go out there and patrol and move around in your gear. That is your sport-specific functional fitness training. People like to use those buzzwords. Why do jumping jacks and burpees in place and all this shit when you've got guys who are in boots and uniforms and they're there ready to train and they're going to be putting their fighting gear on anyway and you're going to have them doing shit? So that kind of makes me question how good or bad your training is. So, yeah, again, you can't get somebody in shape in a couple hours session once a month. That's impossible, right? So you also should let people get the physical training from the actual training. Like, just sending them out on patrols will smoke them, believe me. Like, people that are coming out to my courses will see, like, just basic patrolling will fuck you up. And that's going to be the point. So that should be their physical training for the weekend, and quit wasting people's time having them stand around in formation, and half of them don't even know what a formation looks like, and you spend 10 minutes telling them how to stand at attention, which is completely irrelevant and wasting their time, and then you're doing 4-count push-ups till 50, and 90% of the people have fallen out and stopped at number 10. All right, so that's another thing. And then we saw some weapons handling drills. Not bad to cover, right? You want to make sure people ain't going to shoot each other. And then we saw some like land nav individual techniques and shit. And so the whole point of this, what do those all have in common? So if you've been on the training side or you've done stuff like this, physical fitness, weapons handling, and land nav, basic land nav, what do those all have in common? They're individual skills. They're something that one person can train on their own, literally anytime, anywhere. And I think they are things that people should be training on their own, not driving 13 hours away to go do something with other people that they could be doing on their own. So this is where, like, in the military world, you might want to copy this military thing. It might save you some time and probably help your recruitment. Individual tasks and collective tasks. Collective tasks, that's why you have people come to your fucking training, to train shit that needs more people to train. Dry fire, weapons handling, and physical fitness. If you're not doing that on your own, I'm not going to say I don't want you around, because we want people in these groups, but that should be on you, man. You can I just made a pot of coffee, and while I was waiting, I was doing dry fire. That's fucking individual training, right? So then when I get to the training event, I already know how to use my fucking weapon. I don't need you to reteach me how to use my weapon. I don't need to stand around smoking and joking, talking about politics while we're waiting on the other 30 guys to learn how to use weapons. And it's like, dude, this should be done on your own fucking time. Physical fitness especially. If you're not fit enough to survive a weekend training drill with your group, I'm not saying I don't fucking want you there. That's what I used to say in the infantry, but you're fucked up, man. You need to be doing this shit on your own. Like, stop wasting people's time. Like, seriously, man, this shit costs money, and the number one complaint is people don't have time to train. All right? All these other individual tasks you can do on your own. You can do area studies and A-scope on your own. You can pretend to do battle drills out in the woods on your own. And so when you come to training, at least from my perspective, like if I'm working with other dudes or if I'm going to training, I'm like, all right, I'm traveling, everybody else is traveling. We're going to do shit that requires multiple bodies, you know, more complex operations where we're putting all these fundamentals together. You got, look at like the EIB, you know, you got 72 tasks with like 120 something subtasks. Going out on a patrol, that's like one major task is a patrol. But from start to finish, doing that patrol, there's probably 1,000 fucking tasks in there. Most of which I can do on my own at home. All right. So, yeah. Again, you know, the actual training when we got to it was good, but we probably pissed away 5 hours of the first day. And then we quit at 2 o'clock on Sunday because we had to have a barbecue, you know, and sit around jaw jacket even more and all that. And so the actual training part was great. There was a lot of, there was actually non-military guys leading some of the training, which I thought was very cool. Because we don't know everything. You know, I can talk to you about battle drills and patrols and infantry shit all day long, but there's a lot of things that I'm like, all right, I'm out of my scope. So that was cool to see, and most of the training was good, but just to put that all together, if you're running training at all, doing any of this, leave individual tasks up to the individual, and you don't have to fire people or send them home because they don't know how to use their weapon. So let's take that case. This was a live fire, so you do want to make sure people aren't showing up new. You want to make sure they know what the fuck they're doing. Have the group start to prepare, go through, you know, their PCCs, PCIs, troop leading procedures. Have them start the movement to get up to going to the training and say, all right, who's new? Or every new face that you don't recognize, hey, let me talk to you guys. Pull them off to the side. You got one dude off to the side who's free, and you pull them off to the side. And, hey, show me how comfortable you are with your weapon. If they can lock and clear the damn thing without flagging each other or dropping the magazines or doing something stupid, okay, cool. That's as far as it needs to go. And then, like, as you're out there in the field doing stuff, we kind of call this hip pocket training. You're always going to have white space in training. You're going to have times where, like, for this specific event, and usually for these events, the PCC, PCI time, it turns into like an hour-long inspection. Guys are just nitpicking. People get bored. They start talking about politics and stupid shit again. People start screwing with their weapons. Guys start going to their trucks to grab extra shit. Then they start hanging out at their trucks. And it's like, next thing you know, PCCs and PCIs have turned into like, I don't know, a massive circle jerk. So that's what we call white space. Be like, you got a hard time, this is where we got to be on target, or this is when we have to be on target, and this is our step time, period. PCCs, PCIs are done 15 minutes, well, we'll say PCCs 30 minutes before, PCIs 15 minutes before. That gives people time to go get shit that they failed. And then everything else before that, oh, we've got an hour and we're ready to go. All right, cool. Who doesn't know how to operate their weapon? All right, come over here with me. Who doesn't know how to use a compass? All right, go see that dude. You can fill white space with shit like that, and you're knocking out a whole bunch of important things, so when you get to the collective training, you're not waiting on, like, your weakest link. And so this is not just a militia mag freaking problem. You know, we saw this in even in the infantry when we're supposed to be badasses. We always have like a couple dudes who are lacking in something, and instead of holding up the entire platoon to cover basics, some team leaders would just pull those guys off to the side, or like I would usually have a high-speed specialist or something. I'd be like, hey, grab the new guy and fucking go through the basics with him real quick, you know, and there you go. And we're not wasting time, and everybody's good to go and all that stuff.